Janaranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Jashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Mike Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. You took it upstairs?
I don't know if this is one. I can't find the other one. This looks like the one that's usually downstairs.
Yeah, it's from Lotus Room, I think. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Radha Madhava ki jai, Shri Radha Govinda Deva ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Wow. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki Om Jnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Bhishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyayavacha Kritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you so much for joining once again for the regular Srimad Bhāgavatam class, which is cleansing the heart of everything inauspicious, which is our only friend and companion in these dark hours of Kali. So today we're going to be reading from the 4th canto, chapter 1, entitled The Genealogical Table of the Daughters of Manu. We have some nice verses here, plenty of them, that don't have purports, so I'm just going to read through them and then we'll start from 32nd and we'll arrive to the 55th. And then we'll chant it all together and speak on that verse, hopefully, if Dylan gives his blessings. Okay, verse 32, I'll just read the translation and just go on with translations. Thus, while, was it 32? Yeah. Translation. Thus, while the couple looked on, the three deities, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshvara, disappeared from the place after bestowing upon Adri Muni the benediction. Thereafter, from the partial presentation of Brahma, the moon god was born of them. From the partial representation of Vishnu, the great mystic Dattatreya was born. And from the partial representation of Shankara, Lord Shiva, Durvasa was born. Now you may hear from me of the many sons of Angira. Verse 34. Angira's wife, Shraddha, gave birth to 4 daughters named Sinivali, Kuhu, Raka, and Anumati. Verse 35. Besides these 4 daughters, she also had another 2 sons. One of them was known as Utahya, and the other was the learned scholar Brihaspati. Verse 36. Pulasya begot in his wife Havirbu one son of the name Agastya, who in his next birth became Dahragni. Besides him, Pulasya begot another very great and saintly son, whose name was Vishvara. Text 37. Vishvara had 2 wives. The first wife was Idavida, from whom Kuvera, the master of all yakshas, was born. And the next wife was named Keshini, from whom 3 sons were born, Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishana. These are quite famous villains. You know from where? From Ramayana. Verse 38. Gati, the wife of the sage Pulaha, gave birth to 3 sons, named Karma Shrestha, Varyan, and Sahishnu, and all of them were great sages. Purport. Gati, the wife of Pulaha, was the 5th daughter of Kardama Muni. She was very faithful to her husband, and all of her sons were as good as he. Text 39. Kratu's wife, Kriya, gave birth to 60,000 great sages. That's a lot of kids. It's a whole legion. Named the Valakilas. All these sages were greatly advanced in spiritual knowledge, and their bodies were illuminated by such knowledge. Text 40. The great sage Vashishta begot in his wife Urja, sometimes called Arudati, 7 spotlessly great sages, headed by the sage named Chitraketu. Text 41. The names of these 7 sages are as follows: Chitraketu, Surochi, Viraja, Mitra, Urbana, Visubridhyana, and Dyuman. Some other very competent sons were born from Vashishta's other wife. Purport. Urja, who is sometimes known as Arundhati and was the wife of Vashishta, was the 9th daughter of Kardama Muni. Text 42nd. Chiti, wife of the sage Atharva, gave birth to a son named Ashvashira by accepting a great vow called Dadyancha. Now you may hear from me about the descendants of the sage Bhrigu, the famous Bhrigu dynasty. Purport. The wife of Atharva, known as Chiti, is also known as Shanti. She was the 8th daughter of Kardama Muni. Text 43. The sage Bhrigu was highly fortunate in his wife, known as Khyati. He begot 2 sons named Datta and Vidata, and 1 daughter named Shri, who was very much devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 44. The sage Meru had 2 daughters named Ayati and Niyati, whom he gave in charity to Datta and Vidata. Ayati and Niyati gave birth to 2 sons, Mrikanda and Prana. Text 45. From Mrikanda, Markandeya Muni was born, and from Prana, the sage Vedashira, whose son was Ushana, Shukracharya. You know who's Shukracharya? He's a spiritual master of the demons. He plays big roles in the Bhāgavatam. Also known as Kavi. Thus Kavi also belonged to the descendants of the Bhrigu dynasty. Texts 46 and 47. My dear Vidura, the population of the universe was thus increased by the descendants of these great sages and the daughters of Kardama. Anyone who hears the descriptions of this dynasty with faith will be relieved from all sinful reactions. Another of Manu's daughters, known as Prasuti, married the son of Brahma named Daksha. Text 48. Daksha begot 16 very beautiful daughters with lotus-like eyes, and his wife Prasuti. Of these 16 daughters, 13 were given in marriage to Dharma, and 1 daughter was given to Agni. Text 49 through 52. One of the remaining 2 daughters was given in charity to the Pitriloka, where she resides very amicably, and the other was given to to Lord Shiva, who is the deliverer of sinful persons from material entanglement. The names of the 13 daughters of Daksha who were given to Dharma are Shraddha, Maitri, Daya, Shanti, Tushti, Pushti, Kriya, Unnati, Buddhi, Medha, Titiksha, Hri, and Murti. These 13 daughters produced the following sons. Shraddha gave birth to Shubha. Maitri produced Prasad. Daya gave birth to Abhay. Shanti gave birth to Sukha. Tushti gave birth to Muda. Pushti gave birth to Smaya. Kriya gave birth to Yoga. Unnati gave birth to Darpa. Buddhi gave birth to Artha. Medha gave birth to Smriti. Titiksha gave birth to Kshema. And Hri gave birth to Prashraya. Murti, a reservoir of all respectable qualities, gave birth to Sri Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then text 53. On the occasion of the appearance of Narayana, the entire world was full of joy. Everyone's mind became tranquil, and thus, in all directions, the air, the rivers, and the mountains became pleasant. Text 54 and 55. In the heavenly planets, bands began to play, and they showered flowers from the sky. The pacified sages chanted Vedic prayers. The denizens of heaven, known as the Gandharvas and Kinnaras, sang. The beautiful damsels of the heavenly planets danced. And in this way, all the time, at the time of the appearance of Narayana, all signs of good fortune were visible. All signs of good fortune were visible. Just at that time, great demigods like Brahma also offered their respectful prayers. And text 55, no, 56. Do you guys have phones? Because the TV is not here set up, so we're going to chant the verse now. Whoever has phones can go to verse 56.
Take a picture, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you this is blocking.
Good. So text 56. Please chant after me. Deva uchuhu yo maya virachitam niyajatmanidam ke rupa bedam iva tad pratichakshanaya etena dharma sadhane rishimurti nadya pradukshakara purushaya nama parasmahi Deva uchuhu yo maya virachitam niyatadminadam ke rupa bedam iva tad pratichakshanaya etena dharma sadhane rishimurti nadya Pradushchakara Purushaya Nama Parasmahi Yo Maya Virachitam Nijayatmanidam Ke Rupa Bedam Ivatat Pratichakshanaya Etena dharma sadhane rishimurti nadya. Pradushkara purusha shayanam aparasmai. Gentlemen, please chant. Deva uchuhu. Yo maya virachitam nijayatmanidam. Yerupa bedamiva tat pratichakshanaya. Etena dharma sadhane rishimurti nadya. Pradushkara purushaya nam parasmai. Anybody else? Okay. Let's go with translation word by word. Devaha, the demigods. Uchuhu, said. Yaha, who. Mayaya, by the external energy. Virachitam, was created. Nijaya, by his own. Atmani, being situated in him. Idam, this. Ke, in the sky. Rupa bedham, bunches of clouds. Iva, as if. Tat, of himself. Pratichakshanaya, for manifesting. Etena, with this. Dharma sadhane, in the house of Dharma. Rishi murtina, with the form of a sage. Adya, today. Pradushchakara, appeared. Purushaya, unto the personality of Godhead. Namaha, respectful obeisances. Parasmai, the Supreme. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The demigods said, "Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the transcendental personality of Godhead, who created as His external energy this cosmic manifestation, which is situated in Him as the air and clouds are situated in space, and who has now appeared in the form of Narayana Rishi in the house of Dharma." Did you know that? Purport. The universal form of the Lord is the cosmic manifestation, which is an exhibition of the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In space, there are innumerable varieties of planets and also the air, and in the air there are variously colored clouds, and sometimes we see airplanes running from one place to another. Thus, the entire cosmic manifestation is full of variety. But actually, that variety is a manifestation of the external energy of the Supreme Lord, and that energy is situated in Him. Now the Lord Himself, after manifesting His energy, appeared within the creation of His energy, which is simultaneously one with and different from Himself. And therefore, the demigods offer their respects to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who manifests Himself in such varieties. There are some philosophers called non-dualists who, because of their impersonal conception, think that varieties are false. In this verse, it is specifically stated, Yo Mayaya Virachitam. This indicates that the varieties are a manifestation of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, because the energy is not different from the Godhead, the varieties are also factual. The material varieties might be temporary, but they are not false. They are a reflection of the spiritual varieties. Here the word pratichakshanaya, there are varieties, announces the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appeared as Naranarayana Rishi and who is the origin of all varieties of material nature. Translation once again. The demigod said, let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the transcendental personality of Godhead, who created as his external energy this cosmic manifestation which is situated in him, as the air and clouds are situated in space, and who has now appeared in the form of Naranarayana Rishi in the house of Dharma. In the beginning, when we are reading certain sections of the Srimad Bhāgavatam, like this one, there will be difficulty maybe. Sometimes we might find, naturally, we will find many sections which we naturally like and many sections which are kind of dry. Why all these names? Why listing all these dynasties? Is it really practical to know all these things? But nevertheless, even though we might feel a little bit discouraged and the reading might be appearing a little bit dry, we have to still keep going and continuing to read the Bhagavatam. Because even if you're reading these sections which not so, you don't feel them entering your heart. Still, the Bhagavatam is doing the magic. We're still going through purification. So we keep reading, we keep on studying, understanding the concepts, and actually trying to relish Bhagavatam, because this is the main purpose of reading the scriptures. And we understand it's a cleansing process. So in this way, we're getting purified. Kramakara Maharaj, he was giving oftentimes the example that the proof that when the devotees read the Bhagavatam, and then they doze off, just like Prabhuji now is a little bit dirty. I'm joking. It was Dylan. This is the proof that actually Srimad Bhagavatam is purifying us. And when you get purified, you kind of get released from all these conditionings, and you're like, let me take a nap. So this is the proof. Bhagavatam is purifying our consciousness, our mind, releasing us from so many unnecessary anxieties, fears, hankerings, depressions, all these because of identification with our current body, which doesn't have permanent existence in reality. It's just temporary, relative truth. So anytime we spend reading the Bhagavatam, even when it's difficult and even when it's tedious, it's moments of eternity. These are moments of purification which are being stored in our eternal bank account, spiritual bank account. And then after a while, later on, practice makes perfect. One will start seeing the beauty even in these sections, which are kind of more technical, a little bit drier, appear drier. because then one's consciousness needs to become more refined. And then everything comes with this consistency. When we apply ourselves, when we go on reading, and Bhagavatam is known to be like a gulab jamun. Do you know what's a gulab jamun? It's a sweet. How is it made? Huh? Yeah, what's the shape? It's a ball. Yes, a ball which is fried, is made from what was it? The skimmed milk, the powdered milk, some other stuff is added, boiled in a sugar syrup, and it's extremely juicy and sweet. It's very sweet. And Bhagavatam is like a gulab jamun, because wherever you bite the gulab jamun is so sweet. So the Bhagavatam as well. It doesn't matter, you know? It's because we are like this. We are conditioned. We still cannot taste the pages, the nectarian purports of His Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasam Alayam. It's full with rasa, it's full with juice, all these pastimes. And then, of course, the 10th canto, which is the topmost, the culmination of all the Vedic knowledge, Krishna's sweet pastimes, which are very attractive even to conditioned living entities, you know. Krishna had 16,108 wives. Wow. Latin lover. Krishna, he put a heel on his left small finger, how do you say, the pinky finger, you know. And he did so many other, you know, beautiful pastimes. One time he came out in his palace in Dvaraka, and he saw himself in one of the pillars, because the pillars are made of marble. And he was like completely stunned of his own beauty. And he embraced the pillar. And then Rukmini came out. And she was like, "What the heck are you doing, man?" And he's like, "Oh, nothing. I was measuring the pillar here, you know, because you're going to do some construction. And I'm just measuring the pillar." So Krishna is very, very funny. He's very beautiful and very merciful God. So thanks to the Bhagavatam, we're understanding about all of His qualities, all of His pastimes, and His sweetness, and unlimited sweetness, unlimited qualities. Like this, but before we arrive to that point, we have to go through the purification. We have to do the hard job. Study now, party later. Party now, study later. No. So we read the Bhagavatam as sadhana. It is especially recommended for brahmacharis. Not just for brahmacharis. After all, we're all practicing brahmacharyas. In every ashram, we're practicing the same regulative principles. But it is especially advised for the younger devotees to read the first two cantos of Bhagavatam, like a sadhana, just continuously reading them, again and again and again and again and again. Because the first two cantos are kind of setting the scene. They're giving us introduction for the remaining of the Bhagavatam, and they are helping us to understand these fundamental principles of tattva, which are essential if then we are to be moving to the more subtle, the more refined, the more relishable. We cannot relish before understanding this. That's why Prabhupada, when he was here, he was constantly hammering. You're not this body, you're a spirit soul. You're not this body, you're not this body, you're not this body, you're not this body. If you go to Veda base and you write down you're not this body, you'll find thousands of references. Because this is where we're at. We have to go through this. We have to eat our rice and dal first, our main course. We have to build our bones strong. So we have to engage in reading the Bhagavatam, and not just reading on our own, because what can we accomplish through our own limited perception? Always reading the same thing, and it's like becomes boring because I already know it. But then when you sit down in the library with Arjunananda and the other saintly devotees from the BYS, and then discussion comes up, some doubts are brought up, and new perspectives, because everybody has a different realization on the same subject matter. So it's very important for us to listen from other devotees, especially the senior ones, who have a deeper realization, who have a broader mind, and then we can understand so many other things which are there. Everything is there in the words, in the Sanskrit, and actually the meaning is unlimited. We find ourselves coming back and again and again, reading these purports and discovering newer and newer meanings. So it's not repetitive, actually. Externally, same knowledge, same old book, same letters, but it's not just book knowledge. This knowledge gets revealed inside of ourselves. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya padakshanti te gyanam gyaninas tattvadarshinaha. By acquiring this submissive mood and inquiring from the spiritual master. Who is the spiritual master? Is the one who gives us diksha? Yes, of course. But our spiritual master is anybody else who is more qualified, who is there to give us example, who is there to give us instruction, who is there to help us to dissipate our doubts and to go to the next step, who is there to give us very practical example, not just philosophically, but how to follow the etiquette, how to deal with our daily challenges. Because spiritual knowledge, actually, the spiritual culture of the Vaishnavas is the most practical. It's not some kind of a mumbo-jumbo concept that, armchair philosophers like Prabhupada denominated them. Or, some esoteric pastimes, Krishna, dancing with the gopis and, extinguishing fire with his mouth. But actually, Krishna consciousness, the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam, these are manuals of life. These scriptures can really help you to get over with your personal problems and start wherever you're at, can really help you to overcome your trauma, your childhood trauma, to overcome your mental disease, to overcome so many conditionings, so many mental impositions which we have created on our own by listening to the modern conditionings, to the modern stereotypes of this sick society. So, very important, we can't stress it enough to develop this mood of humility. How do we do it? We associate with those who already have it, and we understand it intellectually. Of course, we are not yet there. So, also, fake it till you make it. What to do? We have to sometimes swallow, how they say? Swallow your pride, When you feel like retaliating, no. He said something wrong. He gave a bad example, he's a senior, how so? This is not acceptable. But no, even, everybody makes mistakes. Kali Yuga is an ocean of mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, so still we have to understand that the superior position of those around us remains always superior. There will always be somebody superior, and there will always be somebody inferior. We will never be the lowest, and we will never be the highest. Only Krishna is the highest. So we have to understand the culture and apply ourselves. Act accordingly, emulate. Keshav Maharaj, he says often that it is easier to act ourselves into a new way of thinking than to think ourselves into a new way of acting. So we should practice in this way and read the Bhāgavatam, the first 2 cantos. Another important aspect which is explained here in the purport by Srila Prabhupada is how Krishna, even though he is the creator of this world and of the entire creation, he is aloof, but still he is within it. He plays. And this is not contradictory. Because Krishna is omnipotent and he can do whatever he likes. And he is very gentle and merciful because he comes here to perform these pastimes to save rascals like us and many others. Everybody practically in the spiritual world, in the material world, I mean. And all this is because of his Achintya Shakti. And therefore, we call it Achintya Bheda Abheda, simultaneously one and different. Prabhupada explains how there is a certain group of transcendentalists. He calls them non-dualists in the purport. Who are the non-dualists? What would you say, Dylan?
Like
Advaita Vedanta.
like that aspect. And
Yes.
you would say also like much of Buddhism.
Yes. You're going specific creeds. Yes, but they are all designated very famously by Srila Prabhupada as impersonalists and Mayavadis. Now, impersonalists and then Mayavadis, they are also impersonalists, but they are a specific type of impersonalist. They're like, they are a special flavor, so to say. Because actually, the non-dualists, both of them, or impersonalists, an impersonalist, he might be just immature in his understanding of the Supreme Absolute, because his knowledge is still limited, he is where he is. And he will eventually get there, and he might have some appreciation about transcendental personalism. When somebody presents the concept of worshipping a transcendental form, he will be open and he will be appreciative. But the Mayavadi is Vaishnava Aparadi. Mayavadis, they are actually offenders, they're puffed up. And they have a very cunning, they have a very deceiving interpretation of the Vedanta philosophy. You know, they are fools, but at the same time, they are very sharp fools because they have the ability to fool many others. And because they have austerities, they actually have committed to very strict brahmacharya. One develops intelligence and sharpness. You know, when one has these austerities, like the yogis, he can very easily influence weaker minds, weaker Western minds. So we have to be aware of this. it's strictly forbidden to associate with Mayavadis and alike people who are influenced by the Mayavada philosophy, because it can contaminate our consciousness. Prabhupada gives this example of the serpent which is drinking milk and then contaminates all the milk, all the other milk. Although milk is very palatable, very nice substance, if it's touched by the lips of a Mayavadi, then it's contaminated. And we listen, maybe sometimes very nice tune on YouTube, Hare Krishna, Krishna Das, Osho, this, that, but then, the Maha Mantra is there, but actually, it's a snake singing. Should be careful where we're listening, because these snake-like sounds might appear like Maha Mantra, but they're contaminated. So, something to keep in mind also. So, Prabhupada, he specifically came to the West to drive out impersonalism and Mayavada. It is even in his own pranam mantra, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, the Shunyavadis, the Mayavadis, the Nirvishesha, drive them out, Paschatya Deshatarine, drive them out from this land. And who are the Mayavadis? Have you ever seen a Mayavadi? Dylan? The big demons. Actually, there is one very interesting lecture by His Holiness Suhotra Maharaj, who is one of the original scholars, one of the prominent scholars of Paviskon. And he explains how these Mayavadis, often demons, they're all demons, but he was specifically designating how, explaining how actually most of the people in the world, they are not really demons, they are innocent. And they are influenced, they have demonic influence. Just like, in Kali Yuga, everybody has demonic qualities inside of his heart, but mostly innocent with demoniac influence. But the big demons, those who preach Mayavada, who preach complete atheism, just like Hiranyakashipu, are people who are very strongly opposed to the spiritual principles of the Bhāgavatam, who are preaching materialism. And big names we can find in our modern history. Darwin, big demon, very big demon. Sigmund Freud, Karl Marx. These people, you can see, they have dedicated their lives to preach atheism. And people in the modern world still today are being influenced by their creed, their thought, which is completely atheistic. So, very interesting how Kali is disseminating his agents around in the world, and they're setting up the scene for sinful life, for the unfolding of the present age. And of course now we have the golden age, but then afterwards this will go on because of this demoniac Mayavada concept of the world. Mayavada basically means that Maya is overtaking over Brahman. So the illusory potency, the illusory energy is overpowering Krishna, basically. And then I am Krishna, you're Krishna, he's Krishna, we're all Krishna, Just go out, enjoy. Doesn't matter, Just live your life. You're already enlightened, because when you die, That's it. You're going back to Brahman, because you are Brahman. We are all Brahman. So it is a very, very attractive philosophy, because this is actually the last snare of Maya. When somebody has overcome all of his conditionings, when he has come to a point of on the verge of surrendering to Krishna, then Maya uses its last weapon. Makes you think that, hey, I am Krishna, actually. Yes. So nice. But here, from the purpose of Srila Prabhupada, we understand how the world is not just dual, the world is not just one, but in itself these statements are not mistaken. But what the mistake is when one says that one excludes the other and vice versa. Because to say that we are one with Krishna is not false. It's true. We are one with Krishna. And to say that we are different from Krishna, from the Supreme, is also not false. But to say that we are exclusively one, then that is the problem. That is the immaturity of those who are viewing the world in such a way. Therefore, Mahaprabhu Chaitanya, he came to give the complete philosophy that in substance we are one, in quality we are one with the Supreme, but in quantity we are like a little speck of dust, like a little droplet, and then Krishna, he is the ocean. So, this is what I wanted to share with you. If there are any comments by the seniors, some questions, remarks. Dylan?
Yeah, you said, like, even if they sing the Maha Mantra, the chant Maha Mantra, that it's still contaminating it, like the idea contaminated by the snake, venomous. How does that work with knowledge that the name is completely pure and untaintable, as non-different from Krishna? Like, I understand in terms of association with philosophical discourse, their words and their ideas seep in, like, and they corrupt, like you said, even if you're not trying to, they go in there. But when it comes to the name, I don't know.
Yes. Very, very good question. Thank you for asking. Krishna and the name are one. That's why when we chant the Maha Mantra, we're actually getting purified, because we are directly associating with the person Krishna through his name, who is within the name. The name is Krishna. How does that work? We don't know. We cannot understand it. And Krishna, he is the supremely pure. He is the supremely purifying subject. Everything that gets in touch with Krishna becomes enlightened, becomes flawless. So why then, when somebody who's like a Mayavadi is contaminating, isn't that the name is pure? How can a Mayavadi contaminate the name? But apparently there is some correlation of chanting the mantra and also the consciousness of the person. For example, one instance, Prabhupada explains that even though we offer the food to Krishna, which becomes prasadam and gets purified, still the consciousness of the cook stays within. And there are some instances where devotees, they took prasadam and then a song came in his mind, like some famous Hollywood song. And then the devotee asked the cook, "Were you singing this song when you were cooking?" And he said, "Yes." So this is the proof of this statement of Srila Prabhupada, that even though we're chanting the name, our consciousness is also present in that chanting. And then when we hear that holy name, actually we're hearing the unheard inside of the person, which are his subtle desires. Another example is when Prabhupada came one time to Mayapur, and the devotees, they brought some local kirtaniyas, very expert, very expert, Bengalis, very good, very sweet voice. They eat a lot of pakoras and their voice become very mellow, very greasy, very nice. And they were all chanting and dancing, and Hare Krishna. The devotees were enjoying. But when Prabhupada entered the temple, he was very dissatisfied. He became so upset. And the devotees were perplexed. They were saying, "But how so, Srila Prabhupada? They're chanting Hare Krishna." And Prabhupada told them, yes, they're chanting Hare Krishna, but in their mind, they're chanting also money, money, money. So these are some examples of how one can transmit his consciousness. Even though on our side, if our intention is pure, we can still hear the holy name and we can still get purified. But in most of the cases, that becomes also mixed with the consciousness of the chanter. So that's why listening to songs or even professional Bhāgavatam reciters, which are non-existent in the West, but apparently it is a thing in India, it's strictly forbidden for Vaishnavas because their subtle desires will contaminate our consciousness. And before we know it, Smara Hari Prabhu wants to add something important.
I want to ask, you mentioned the professional kirtaniyas who were very expert, who people impressed people by their skills and their acumen, but nevertheless Prabhupada said they're thinking money, money, money. Is there any difference between them and a strong Western person who does a kirtan for a fee? Is that different?
Ay, ay, ay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's the same thing because the principle is I'm doing kirtan for making money, so that's my consciousness. I guess it can be mixed, can also be mixed because we do mixed devotional service.
Say, for example, I'm a greenmaster and I'm very good at singing and I make a living, I pay my bills by going here to do kirtan. Is that essentially different from the people who Prabhupada pointed out that they were professional people?
I think from my understanding, from how I see it, it's very similar. Very, very similar. I haven't really thought deeply about it, but it's a similar concept because devotional activities, bhakti, Brahminical activities are done. That's why we call it Shuddha Bhakti, because it's pure of self-motivation. But if we do it for personal self-aggrandizement or for personal gain, any form of gain, either gross or subtle, then that's Mishra Bhakti, or not Bhakti at all. So in this way we understand. Sitaram Prabhu, you want to add something?
Yes, I would like to say something also because my mind sometimes gets offensive because I thought about this subject matter many times, and sold the Bhāgavatam. He had also sell that copy of Bhāgavatam to Captain Pandya. Otherwise, he had no money to start the Hare Krishna movement. He had $20 alone that when he arrived. And then he said he was doing, he was simply selling the Srimad Bhāgavatam to maintain himself for that 1 year when he was in America. So, the pure devotee selling Srimad Bhāgavatam to maintain himself with the ultimate vision of establishing Krishna consciousness, the lifesaver of the whole world. And somebody just going and reading Bhagavad Sapta for their own sense gratification, maintaining their family, which is not in alignment with bhakti and devotional service. There is a difference. There must be a difference. There is a calculated difference for those who are engaged in the devotional service in the Sampradaya. Then when we hear of people paying for prasadam, then we think that was offensive and we think how could they have to pay for prasadam. But then when we look at Srila Prabhupada's life, we find out that even in his mature Grihastha life, he was giving a donation to a temple, a specific temple, and going there to collect the prasadam and know that they need this money to facilitate the prasadam for his sangha and his enjoyment, his spiritual well-being. So then when we look at this one as a whole, and many times I am in Maharpur, and people said to me that all they're interested in that big temple is only money. I say, yeah, they must need money. You see how many things they're doing? They need money all the time. We have so many people criticizing. So, sometimes there's a fine line to be drawn. But then after there is a unlimited appreciation for the awareness of bhakti and devotion, and then we do raise ourselves spiritually and not just find fault in the path or on people's path of progress. Even though the pure devotee Srila Prabhupada may have said, yes, that they are singing, they shouldn't be singing because they have their consciousness is tainted with that. He is simply teaching us that we shouldn't come to that point where we would be doing things like that, or we would just be selecting people to sing based on the fact that they can play musical instrument or they can sing nicely, and that everyone should be given a chance to sing for the Lord. And even Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that no, he shouldn't be singing. Give the person who can't sing, because the person who can't sing, he would honestly and sincerely and willingly call to the Lord with a sincere heart. And then we find out some people who are reciting Bhāgavatam, they will never accept a coin of donation for reciting the Bhāgavatam. There are people like that. They will never accept any sort of remuneration.
Let me say something. The criticism of the Bhagavad Sapta, professional people who go and they read Bhagavatam each night for 7 days, or each day for 7 days, and they encompass the whole Bhagavatam. The criticism of those is not the Bhagavatam, but the commentary, because they tend to focus on the Amrita, just go through it real quick, and then the whole thing's all about the titillating amorous pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So it's a sahajya thing, and that is the criticism of it. Not that it is the Bhagavatam, not that they're reading it, but the commentary of it. So to compare this professional Bhagavatam speaker with a devotee on Sankirtan selling a set of books, that the set of books has a bona fide commentary. So it's the commentary that's the criticism, not the act of selling, because obviously the book costs something to print. You may meet a nice person and say, well, we'll just give you $2 because you know that's what the book costs to print. We don't want to give it away. We're going to go bankrupt if we give it away. So it's like the commentary that's rather than the content, rather than the Bhagavatam itself. That is a criticism that these people, because in fact in India there are several sannyasis who do Bhagavad Sapta. very early days of ISKCON, when we were building temples, I was as a young boy, and we were going trying to get donations from different businessmen. And they would be completely surprised to see me, a young brahmachari, alpaca, or wooden shoes, and the whole real show-off thing, like young devotees do. And they would be listening very intently. And then there would come a point in the conversation and say, well, where's your Guru Maharaj from? And I'd say, oh, he's from Calcutta. And several times, 3 or 4 times, the guy just picked up his phone, he did his business. I thought, oh, he's making it. I was just sitting for 20 minutes, and the guy's just ignoring me. And I thought, what did I do? What did I say? And then this happened several times. And then one time I spoke to this very nice pundit, and he said, the thing is, he said, today in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, there are 54 branches. He said, most of them are just out and out Sahajya, which was back to Vinod's big challenge to bring the whole thing back into order, Bhaktisiddhanta, ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada. But there's like a lot of Sahajyism. So they're very interested as soon as you mention, oh, Calcutta. It's like saying, oh, I'm a sannyasi, oh, wonderful Maharaj, I'm a sannyasi with Rajneesh, with Oshu. Well, you're not a sannyasi, you're just wasting my time. So they, and I said, oh, okay. So then again, when they said, well, where's your Guru Maharaj? I said, oh, my Guru Maharaj lives in Bhutan. Oh, Bhutan is wonderful, I mean, how can I help? And it was, so again, it's like, there was, it was disreputable. The way they were just using Radha Krishna as just, it was just a sexual, mundane, that's how they were, and people were interested in that, or thought that that's why they were interested in Krishna, rather than Ram, rather than Lakshmi, rather than. So that's the difficulty, not the fact that there was some monetary exchange, because the Brahmin class of people, they live by donations. So whether you sell a ticket, well, people argue the Western culture, they don't understand that they have to support the priest, so we ask for a ticket. Where in India, you don't sell the ticket, you let people come in for free, and they say, oh, that was wonderful, let me give you a donation. Or let me give you a donation for the prasad. This is really tasty, really nice, let me give you 10 rupees. They know it costs money, they know it costs, whereas here, it's all free. So it's slightly different culture, slightly different. But that's the difficulty, the context rather than
Yeah, we understand that money is Lakshmi Devi, who is the goddess of fortune herself, the consort of Vishnu. So we understand that everything in creation is Krishna's energy, and it can be used for Krishna's pleasure. So there is actually a modern misunderstanding that if you're wealthy, if you earn money, you're not spiritual because it's material. But actually, from the perspective of the Vaishnava, he sees everything in relation to Krishna. Everything becomes spiritual because actually this is the same energy. Just one expands his consciousness and then he sees. So we see from the example of Srila Prabhupada, he collected a lot of money to build all these temples, and they sold a lot of books, just like Prabhu was explaining, because we need to print them and we need to do sustenance. But to do it professionally for money, it's bad. It gives a bad name in general because of.
So did he answer his question for himself? Is a grihastha going to perform kirtan to maintain himself? Is it okay? Is it okay?
Yeah, say something.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say that there's like a huge difference. Like I feel like some of these kirtaners that like the standard is just donating 50%, you know, and some are like saints and they just donate all of their work, you know. And some of these kirtaners that are getting paid by temples to come in, I feel like that's like improper. why would they be taking money from the temple when it's just to be donating part of like, you understand? Like, I guess if it's somewhere where they're going, it's just like a standard thing. But I feel like a lot of these professional kirtaniyas are getting paid to come into temples, like a lot of lodging as well, not just like enough to cover travel expenses and stuff like that. Like, they're taking a lot. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're taking from temple. Like, so that's
the difference is that if they're getting paid so much that it's beyond sustenance. If you, if that's your service, if that's your devotional service in your life is to sing for the Lord, and you're not living in the temple.
Yeah, but I know some kirtaniyas will request like $10,000.
Well, that's
for one night.
Yeah,
that's like so much money from. And they're expecting the temple to pay them that, and that's like against our principles of we earn money to give at least 50, like up to 50%, 30, 50% to Krishna, you know. So if we're not doing that, then it's like an offense.
Yeah, so there may be some
So there is a difference between professional kirtaniyas and whatever who are doing it, and then they're getting the money, they're going back to their families, and then they're drinking and maybe having sex, and that's complete maya. But then you have maybe some sincere ISKCON devotees who are doing kirtan and they're getting some money. They're devotees, they're chanting, they're bhaktas. I guess it's not the same, but still it's mixed.
$10,000 for one night is like.
That's not every kirtan.
I'm not saying everyone.
Yeah,
Well, there are kirtan.
yeah, we understand that the principle in itself is that if you're asking for money for devotional activities, is defeating the purpose in itself of the pure devotional activity. So when you do it like publicly, it's like you're getting money for kirtan. It's like whoa, Prabhuji. Okay, maybe you're doing it on your own. You're giving lectures and I don't know, asking for money still.
Like people who record their own kirtan and make money off of that.
Things like this, yeah.
That's fine.
That's at least not so visible, maybe. But when you do it publicly and people know about it, there's some bhakti there, definitely, but it's not pure bhakti. There is Shuddha Bhakti and there is Mishra Bhakti, and the difference is from the ground to the stars. And with this one, we'll end it up. Thank you so much for the participation. Hare Krishna. Hare Govinda ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Prasharam ki jai. And Prasharam is not sense gratification, it's direct devotional service. Can you please stop it, dear?